Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports Podcast, the college offseason podcast where we're for the fans, by the fans. As the college basketball season comes to a close, our season officially begins as the college basketball offseason podcast. But first things first, I got to get this off my chest. Watching the national championship game just made me so upset because if Duke didn't have one of the biggest choke jobs in NCAA history, given the teams that we saw play in the national championship game, we would have waxed the floor with them. This would be going down as one of the best NCAA tournament teams of all time. But of course, they have to choke. So that's where my mind's at as we begin this podcast.
Yeah, Duke was headed to the finish line and they slipped on a banana peel and totally broke their face on the cement.
Why did
That's
you just describe like a Mario Kart game?
because it's what it is. Mario Kart is what happened. I'm just describing in the best way possible of what Duke just did. Pooper flag.
Cooper Flag just got hit with that green shell.
Yeah, he did.
And then Houston played the invincibility music and it was over.
Houston ran right past for the finish just to lose in the national championship game. Just to have one of the weirdest endings of a national championship game, to be honest.
Yeah, just leading three of the four laps, and then that fourth lap just comes back and haunts you every time.
Yeah. This is what Les gets for going to that Chipotle eating contest instead of watching his team on Saturday night.
Hey, now I got back in time. I'm a good fan, I promise.
Full of
I guess that's what
burritos.
I guess that's what Duke gets for playing on the rainbow track the whole year.
Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
They played in the Toy Poodle Conference, damn it, and look what they got.
Dude, I thought that was AI for a hot minute, but apparently he actually said it. That's
And then
hilarious.
he follows that up with Sasquatch State, which is ironically my alma mater. So
So doesn't that make me an alumnus of Sasquatch State?
no, Les, there are levels to this. That's where I got my doctorate.
Well, we ain't Matt, so I ain't on Matt's level. That's true.
Oh my gosh. Yep, I'm one of the big feet. I'm part of the Bigfoot Society. You can't stop it. We're coming.
I got big feet too, though. I bet my feet are bigger than yours.
Mm.
All right, so hold on. I don't know if okay, before this, for the fans that don't know, we had some technical difficulties with it wouldn't start recording. But while that was happening, I don't know if y'all checked your phones, and I'm gonna change the topic just for a second, but we'll go back. Here at the Less is More Sports podcast, we talk about football and basketball. So there's some big news in football that Nico Iamaleava just entered the portal,
Oh,
which
he
is
did?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I just did a video on that yesterday, and I asked the question, like, is he going to enter the portal? Because, of
yeah.
course, anyone who's been following, he's had some contract negotiations
It
issues
said
with his NIL, and now, like, he skipped
yeah.
yesterday's practice. Oh, that's crazy. It goes to show how fast things happen in this world.
Yeah, it said that Tennessee was moving on from him, which is nuts. But yeah, I just wanted to share that real quick because there's big news and we got to share it on this podcast. Even though we're talking about basketball, but we can get back to that.
I
No,
think that's the
absolutely.
first
That's
time that we've actually had a story relevant to like what we talk about actually happened during the show.
Yeah, I know. I never checked my phone for that to happen, but it happened today.
Well,
We
no,
usually
remember
have
that
that.
one time, Matt, we were talking about transfers, and then Aiden Holloway, I was just about to talk to him,
That's right.
talk
That's
about him, and
right.
then he committed to Bama like 6 minutes before I was about to about him.
And then it was like, well, we got to go back and fix this, folks.
And then it was crazy because like he went to Bama from Auburn, so like
Yeah.
and it ironically stayed on theme because we were literally talking about players transferring to rival schools.
Rival schools. Yeah. That was
No,
it.
but he missed the one thing that came out. He missed the Final Four in both years when both teams went to the Final Four, like Auburn this year and Alabama last year, and he missed the Final Four both years.
Dude just sounds like he's hella unlucky.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's very
Which
unlucky.
sucks because I was so high on Aiden Holloway coming out of high school. Like I even said he was the best shooter in that class.
You did. I do remember that. Well, at least he's not to AJ Store or whatever and going like to 5 different high schools and 4 colleges.
I feel like that's becoming more and more of a common thing.
Yeah,
Didn't really work out for him either. So
no, he downgraded.
But anyways, One of the things we're going to talk about today on the podcast is the transfer portal. We have some very early entries in the college basketball portal, and we're going to talk about some of the good moves, some of the surprising moves. But first things first, we got to talk about the local transfer portal because both Louisville and Kentucky are absolutely killing it in the portal. And this begs the question so far, of the two local teams, who is having the best transfer portal, Louisville or Kentucky? And Ryan, because you're the Louisville fan on this podcast, you get the first dibs at this question.
I'm gonna go Louisville, of course. I mean, look at the guys we've got. We got some of the top guards in the transfer portal. I would love to get another big guy just to add depth. I really like having Ali Khalifa playing next year. I've heard great things about him being like a great passer and just overall good big man. That he didn't get any slimmed down a bunch. Got some muscle on him. Really excited for his season next year. But I'm gonna go with Louisville because, I mean, Isaac McNeely, Adrian Woolley, and Ryan Conwell. I really like those three guards with high number of points per game last year, and I I can't wait to have those guys playing, and for the guys that the recruits that are coming in next year with Michael Brown and uh, some people are calling him Sonny Frew, but it's like Sanana Frew or something like that. I'm really excited for them. Louisville on paper looks really good. It has to we have to see what happens on the court, but and we still have a long time and more things could happen in the portal still, but I'm going to go with Louisville because I mean, we got three good guards and we got really our needs, and I feel like maybe one more piece added, whether that's Case and Pryor coming back or if we somehow get Nate Ament, which would be amazing. I don't expect that to happen, but that's just that's a scenario that honestly could happen. Or another big man in the portal. I think we need one more piece, and then we're set for the season, and we could start our we could get ready for the season, even though it's not close anywhere near.
Well, good news for Louisville fans. Everything at this point in the year is all on paper. You know, we still got a ways to go before they actually do take the court and we get a final look at what the product's going to look like. That being said, Matt, do you have an opinion on the matter, or are you just riding the Darian DeVries hype train?
Oh, I'm not riding the hype train at all.
Oh, I might have been foreshadowing a little bit to the
We're
later on in
going
the
to
episode.
we're going to talk about other things later in the episode too. But Ryan talks about Khalifa. I'm actually more high on Fruit than I am Khalifa. I think he's going to get the starting nod. I think Khalifa will
21-year
play.
old freshman.
But he's played in Germany
Yeah,
and it hasn't been hurt.
yeah.
So I think he's going to start the year. If he's not ready for it, then you switch back to Khalifa. If he's ready for it, I go with Fruit because I think that guy's got incredible upside. But I'm going to take the opposite angle here, and I'm actually going to say I think when this is over, not necessarily right now, and this is not to insult what Louisville has done because they are going to be a top five preseason team with what they've done, even if they stop right now. I think when all is said and done, I think we're going to look at Kentucky and think that they've got the better class. And the reason I say that is because I think they've just got more flexibility with all the guys they've had leaving, and now they lost to Caden Lewis. He's gonna reopen his commitment, which opens up room for like a Lamar Wilkerson from Stan Houston State. They've got Diabate from Alabama. They got Jaden Quinnance. I know he was hurt too, but he has a lot of upside. The low was a little bit of a surprising move, but you throw in the guys they've got coming in who aren't in the portal, like Moreno and things like that. I think when all it says, Kentucky is going to do something. Maybe that doesn't make sense from a basketball standpoint, but it's like the oh my, I forgot Kentucky has that much money type move. Whether that would be something incredible, like Brian
Cooper
Brady
Flag.
away from Purdue. No,
That's
not
not happening.
Cooper Flag enters the portal. Breaking news.
We're just
Not to
trolling.
foreshadow anything else we might be talking about on this podcast, but people have been blowing my phone up asking, like, yo, do you actually think Cooper Flag's coming back? No. Like, you got a better chance. I hear there's a job opening in Denver right now. You have a better chance of me flying out to Denver and becoming the next Nuggets head coach than Cooper Flag coming back to college basketball. You have a better opportunity or a better percentage of me coaching Nikola Jokic than Cooper Flag coming back to college. We're talking on the low end. he'd be passing up $12 million a year. He's not coming back to school. He's been the projected number one pick since he was like 14 years old. Not to mention, the whole reason that he reclassified to come to Duke early in the first place was so that he could get to the NBA sooner. So, yes, this is one of those stories. It was fun for the fans to entertain, but it was never going to happen. And you know what? If it does, I will wear North Carolina gear on the next episode.
Why would you do that to yourself? No one said
Because
you.
I am confident it is not going to happen.
Sorry, Matt. Didn't mean to interrupt you. What
Well,
about
my bold prediction is now Con Knuppel will now be a Kentucky Wildcat next year.
Oh, that would break my heart. Now,
wow?
there's a better chance of that happening than Cooper Flag.
Now, would it be? What are the chances you beat Jokic in like a one-on-one? Is it with Cooper Flag coming back, or is that too
I
much?
still think Cooper Flag. I still think I have better odds to beat Nikola Jokic one on one than Cooper Flag coming back to college. Do I think I have any chance to beat Nikola Jokic one on one? Hell no. But I mean, still, Cooper Flag's not coming back to college.
Not even if Ken Jeong offers him his fortune.
No,
What if he offers him a part in The Hangover Part 4?
still no.
What if he offers him a part in The Hangover Part 4, 5, and 6?
How many more hangovers are there gonna be?
As many as
I
Cooper
thought I
Flag
was done.
wants?
I thought I was done with hangovers when I was 3 years sober. But damn.
No, as many as Cooper Flag wants. He gets to be in charge of the whole franchise to make his
The
money.
director of
And
the.
he'll do that while he's playing pro ball. It won't be at Duke.
Academy Award winning director Cooper Flag is in the house.
If that happens, Cooper Flag can really do it all. He's a very versatile basketball player, and now he's showing off his versatility off the court. I'm here for it. He actually is very marketing trained if you're paying attention. Because you know how the NCAA tournament is sponsored by Powerade?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cooper Flag being a Gatorade athlete, during his interviews, he's literally been like hiding the Powerade cup.
Wow.
They're gonna sue me for breach of contract. Then I will
That
have to go to Kentucky. Oh,
yeah, but no, that so
what the hell was I talking? Oh yeah, Kentucky. I think Kentucky is. I think Kentucky is going to make one of those. Oh shit, Kentucky's got money moves, and whether or not it will make sense from a basketball standpoint, I don't know. Whether that's prying a Braden Smith away from Purdue, that's been heavily insinuated, even though it may not happen. But I've seen rumors about that. Whether it's prying some guy like not R.J. Luis and overpaying a big great deal for him. Kentucky is Kentucky, and they're going to do something that gets us all hyped up, gets us all talking, and they just have more roster flexibility right now than Louisville, which is a blessing and a curse because obviously you can bring in a lot more guys, but you're going to have to get those guys playing in the system by the time the fall rolls around. So I'm going to take Kentucky just because I don't think they're anywhere close to done. I think if they have to send Travis Perry or whatever to Murray State, they will if it means getting like Braden Smith in there because that's just the era of sports we're in now.
it's funny. I'm gonna take an even different angle. Ryan has Louisville right now. Matt says it's gonna be Kentucky in the future. I'm gonna be completely honest. Despite the fact that Louisville is the number one ranked transfer portal class right now, according to 24/7 Sports,
It's actually
I
Duke, isn't it?
that was supposed to be something that is something you would expect me to say, but no. Um, No, I was gonna say that Kentucky actually has the better. I actually think Kentucky has the better class right now. Being an ACC fan, Jalen Lowe is an absolute problem. That's going to be a great pickup for the Wildcats. Jaden Quaintance, he was originally committed to Kentucky back when John Calipari was the coach, and then of course John leaves for Arkansas. He goes to Arizona State, plays for Bobby Hurley, the other Hurley, for a year, and now and it all came full circle, and now he's back at Kentucky. He's a very talented player. Um, and being a Duke fan, this is where being a Duke fan comes in, Matt, because I'm glad you said that. I want to talk about Cam Williams. Cam Williams has a lot of potential. Very nice 3-point shot. Um, One of my buddies, I think, compared him to a more athletic Almanor that was on the team this year.
Yeah, he really is.
He kind of is. But where being the Duke fan comes into this is Duke fans know firsthand about how valuable Tulane transfers can be.
Oh no, not Tulane again.
Sion James, baby.
Okay, Les. What's Tulane's mascot?
The Green Wave.
Oh, you did it. Yeah, I was hoping you'd know.
Don't
I
try
think I've
me.
actually ranted about that on the show before, haven't I?
Um, Not at me, I don't think, but
Yeah,
maybe
I
to
might
the
have been.
fans.
I may have subjected Ryan or the TikTok users to that, but I do remember talking about Tulane.
Yeah, you've definitely talked about Tulane, but I don't think you like ranted to me and be like, Les, you don't even know what their mascot is.
I had to give him a test. If he's going to claim that he loves Tulane, he needs to know about the Green Wave.
Well, I don't say that I love Tulane. I just love what comes out of Tulane. It's all about perspective here, my friend.
If there's a joke I could make, I'm not going to make it.
You
I'm not.
should, you know, you brought it
No,
up. You
we are
should
going
make
to
it.
change the topic and keep moving.
Okay, fine. I will change the topic. Okay, as we get into the transfer portal, we're going to talk about some of the best moves, the most surprising moves. So, the first question we have, given the players that have entered the transfer portal so far, what has been the best move? And since we started with Ryan last time, I'm going to start with Matt this go around. Matt, what you got?
Oh Lord, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Well,
I
don't
really
be
do.
too excited, bud.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to go with Ryan Conwell. I just praised Kentucky up one downside, down the other. But I really like the Ryan Conwell to Louisville move because that's like one of the things they were missing. When Pat Kelsey's offense, what kills them right now at the moment is the fact they kind of play, and I mean this in the best way possible. So don't come at me, Louisville fans. Don't come at me, Ryan. They play like a mid-major, by which I mean, if you remember the good old days of the NCAA tournament, the way mid-majors stayed in games was they would pass the ball a lot and hit a lot of threes. And that's what I saw from Louisville last year: a lot of passing, a lot of threes, and they didn't make a lot of them. And you know who does make a lot of threes is Ryan Conwell. And I think if you're going to get him, I think with I think you're going to have a better offense. You're going to have better flow along the perimeter, and the question marks about your bigs kind of get a little less egregious because you do have depth there. You've still got Scott, you've got Frew, you've got all those guys. But I think that kind of alleviates the need on there because when you've got Conwell on perimeter, he's a guy who I think can really hit enough shots to keep teams in there. Now, granted, I didn't watch a lot of ACC basketball last year. My knowledge of Louisville basically comes from a few games here and there where they were up by 20 points, and that could really affect the way I saw the games. I'm not going to lie. Because, let's be honest, Louisville didn't play a lot of close games last year, whether they were wins or losses. So it's kind of hard to get a solid read on it, but that's what I noticed. And I think if you add a guy like Conwell in, you're adding a guy who's going to hit a lot more threes, who's going to who's going to be a weapon you're going to have to defend when you're playing defense, and a guy who I think is going to help alleviate a lot of the pressure on that big mark on those bigs, which is currently questionable. Still not as bad as some people are making it out, but currently questionable, and it has some injury probability. So I think Ryan Conwell is the best move so far of the portal, even though it's still very young.
Ryan, what you got?
All right. So my best portal player that went to a good school that I thought was Bryce Hopkins going to Ricky P in Saint the Johnnies. All right. I think
Saint
this
the
is
Johnnies?
yep,
Saint the
The
Johnny.
Saint
Saint the
Johnnies.
Johnny. The Saint
Saint
the
the
Johnnies.
Johnnies. That sounds like one of those alternative bands you'd hear in Coles in the 2010s.
Saint the singular plurals. I dig it.
Yep. The Saint Johnnies, but before I know he got injured this year, but before he was injured, he is an absolute dog and a great playmaker, and really was the leader for that Providence team. I mean, he went from Big East to Big East. He is a very good Big East player. He's familiar with the conference, obviously with being at Providence. But yeah, he was a dog before he got injured. And he's really got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him.
Yeah, I mean, but he's a great playmaker. He shoots 40% from the field, 40% from three, and he can rebound. He averaged a good amount of assists. I think he brings that shooting that Ricky P did not have in the tournament, which killed them against Arkansas, who I thought they would beat, but they didn't. But and I think he has very solid defense, which as we know, Ricky P, his defense is always good, and he's always got a very good defensive scheme. But yeah, he really brings that shooting that St. John's needs and that playmaking ability. I really love Bryce Hopkins' game, and I think he will really do well again for Ricky P and the St. Johnnies.
Fair enough. And for my answer, I'm going to go with Elliot Cadeau. And that might sound weird being a Duke fan picking a former Tar Heel, but honestly, I'm going to get into it. But he might be the best former Tar Heel to cheer for. But before I get into that, I'm going to say I'm still a believer in Elliot Cadeau's game. You know, I am the self-proclaimed recruiting expert on this show, and I watched him through the high school ranks when he was at Link Academy and lead Link Academy to a Chipotle Nationals championship, which, I also got to say, if you ever get a chance to go to the Chipotle Nationals, definitely go because me and my nephew went last weekend. Ton of fun. Watched some great basketball. Great experience. But anyways, Elliot Cadeau, I really do believe in the right system can be the perfect point guard to run your offense. You know, he has a great floor vision. He really, has a knack for finding open teammates, making those guys around him better. And I think Michigan's going to absolutely thrive with him running the point next year. But why I think he is the most likable former Tar Heel to cheer for. At the end of the day, he has a losing record against Duke, and he's going to be even better at his new school than he was at North Carolina, making him the most likable former Tar Heel.
Horrible. Wow. What about Jalen Withers, the guy who stepped in?
He's a close second, because if it weren't for him, we might not have beat Louisville in that ACC championship game. You know, he was the real MVP of that game. And I love Con Knippel's interview after the game where he's like, I just told Pat not to do anything stupid, like step on the line or something.
Yeah, and uh, I think it was Armando Bacot who said that he pushed him. There was clearly no push.
It's like where I'm still, it's been about a month or so. I'm still looking for that push.
I'm surprised Bacot's not playing still in college.
I know. I mean, 10 years wasn't enough, Ryan.
He's no Chad Baker Mazzara.
That's true.
10 years plus in Outer Banks scene.
Was he in Outer Banks?
He was.
That's hilarious. I've never watched Outer Banks, so I didn't know.
Don't.
He was in Outer Banks.
Matt is the number one Outer Banks hater.
I saw that. I watched specifically to see what Baycott was doing on there, and I think I lost 90% of my brain capacity in that 5 minute clip to the point now where I don't even know my name.
Yeah, I think he's only in there like a small portion, but Cooper Flag in the Hangout or Hangover and Armando Bacon in Outer Banks.
And Hunter Dickinson in. Oh wait, no, that's not.
He's already got a job. He's already got a job.
He is on TV and he's going to do Enterprise Rent a Car.
Didn't he like call out Barstool too?
Yes,
he called out. What's his name?
Tom Titus or Mark Titus? I think Mark Titus, yeah.
Mark
Titus replied and was like, I didn't average a lot of points because I was actually on good teams that competed at the high level and you weren't. And it was actually a funny response.
I'm not gonna lie. Mark Titus, it takes a very special individual for me to side with Hunter Dickinson, is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Takes a very special individual. So good job, buddy. Good job. Anyways,
I can't do it. I'm sorry.
you can't do what?
I'm on Team Mark Titus. I can't do it.
That's your business.
I can't do it. I spent too many years in the Big Ten. I can't do that.
No.
Oh yeah, I'm on Team Mark Tice, so I don't like Hunter Dixon at all.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
winning Ryan over.
None of us like Hunter Dickinson. I'm just saying.
No, I never liked Hunter Dickinson. I'm a Ohio State fan. He played at Michigan.
I was on my couch cheering for Malik Brown to beat him up after he kicked him.
Yeah, he's always been a dirty
Hey,
player.
we should get that fight, like a whole UFC octagon style, Malik Brown versus Hunter Dickinson. I wonder what the odds on that would be.
Oh my!
Is there any other player that we could? I mean, like we could obviously choose Malik Brown, but is there someone that had a bigger altercation with Hunter Dickinson?
I'm sure we could find. I mean, I'm not thinking of any right now, but I'm sure we could find one. But Malik, obviously, I say Malik Brown just being a Duke fan, witnessing it firsthand. But I'm gonna say Malik Brown got that hand speed, bro.
Yeah.
How you think he gets so many deflections?
Yeah, defensive guy.
Anyways, we're going to move on for time constraints, and we're going to go to the most surprising move of the portal. And since I'm started with Matt the first round, I'm going to start with Ryan this round. So, Ryan, who was the most surprising move to you?
All right, so you better be ready because I'm about to throw a curveball to you. You better not be sitting fastball.
As we quote movies on this podcast all the time, I have trouble with the curve.
Well, looks like
Well, nothing, Matt? I would have thought Matt would have quoted.
you're gonna be
No.
falling to your knees and swinging early. Uh,
Ah,
I'm gonna
Hey,
go.
yo.
I was gonna let Ryan try.
Swinging, you know, you knew what I was talking about. All right,
I don't know your life.
you're gonna be falling to the dirt. There we go.
Hey, Matt, I'm going to touch grass.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ryan, just go.
Most surprising move. I'm going
yes, go ahead.
to switch over because transfer portal is the same. Transfer over to women's basketball. Olivia Miles going to TCU from Notre Dame. That is a big, big surprise because she was projected not second round pick, the second overall pick in this year's WNBA draft, which is absolutely nuts. She chose to forego the WNBA draft and enter the portal and not even return to Notre Dame. I mean, that's just crazy. And now she's going to a really new, I would say, newer, um, very good team in TCU who just had Haley Van Lith and other good stars on the team. Um, but yeah, I mean that's just a big surprise. There were rumors, okay, rumors. I'm not saying this is true that she didn't get along with Hannah Hidalgo, uh, but I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not saying it was, but this is a huge, huge surprise in college basketball with her not even going back to Notre Dame, but transferring instead of going to the WNBA draft, where she could be a big star on TCU.
Matt, what you got?
I'm gonna go back to the men's side for a commitment that happened not only surprisingly early, but I'm still trying to make sense of, which is Trayson Eaglestaff going to South Carolina. We talk about how good the SEC was last year, but you know who wasn't good? South Carolina.
Yeah.
You know who has like 8 outgoing transfers? South Carolina. And yeah, I know they got Michi Johnson, and they just signed a kid from Providence. The I can't ever pronounce his name, but I'm gonna try. Esendoko. He's like a 7 foot center who was hurt a little bit, started off and on, good player, but that does not a roster make. And South Carolina, I don't know what their idea is here. If they're just trying to be good every other year with like the transfer portal, it doesn't make much sense. But it makes even less sense for Eagle staff because I remember back when earlier in the year when Alabama went up to play them at Grant Nelson's NDSU, all part of his career. The kid was insane. I mean, I think he made like just about every shot at like a 6 foot 6'7" kid against a very good Alabama team. We know how good Alabama was. And I was thinking, oh, this kid's going to be in the bidding wars at Kentucky and IU and, maybe even a Louisville. I thought this kid was going to be looked at by Duke. And to pick South Carolina on like the second day the portal was open really caught me off guard. I know it's all about fit. I know it's all about where you feel comfortable, especially coming from like a mid major to the SEC. But that one really just kind of caught me off guard because I thought he could be a big part of like a championship caliber team. But, and I'm not saying, South Carolina's not going to be a championship caliber team. It's freaking April. We don't know. But right now, when I'm looking at their roster on paper, I'm like, head scratching a bit because it's like that one still catches me off guard because, like I said, I thought for sure this kid was going to end up playing for like one of those like teams that was in the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Final Four last year, or BYU was just going to like give him $1 trillion and he was going to go there like they'd be doing with everyone else. So yeah, my surprise move: Trayson Eaglestaff going to South Carolina.
For time constraints, we just hit the 10-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and give mine. But my most surprising move was when Rob Wright decided to enter the transfer portal from Baylor and commit to BYU. The second he announced that he was transferring from Baylor, I knew somebody had to have thrown this kid a bag because you knew there was nothing going on the court that would have made him want to leave Baylor. Not only was he getting plenty of minutes, Baylor wasn't looking to bring in anybody in any world where he was going to lose those minutes. And not to mention, he was thriving on the court at Baylor. He was one of their most important pieces this year. And then come to find out that Baylor was had his NIL value at $1 million, and BYU threw him $3 million. And all I'm going to say to that is that those pick and rolls, or those point guard star player action between Rob Wright and AJ Dibansa is going to be an absolute movie. But for time constraints, we are going to move on now to the coaching aspect, because as we know, we've had already so many different coaching moves. And we're still early on in the offseason. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the best and worst coaching moves so far in this point in the college basketball offseason. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Who's been the best coaching move so far?
Best coaching move, in my opinion, is Kevin Willard going to Villanova. He's a Big East guy. He knows what the Big East is about, and he's returning to bring back Villanova. His overall record, I think this is the overall record in the Big East was 225 and 161. He made it 5 times in the NCAA tournament when in the Big East for Seton Hall. Would have been 6 if this thing called COVID didn't happen, but I really think this is a good move for Kevin Willard, and it sucks for Maryland fans, even though they got their head coach, but they had a successful season this year. But I think he's a really, really good coach, and he knows what the Big East is about, and he's returning there.
Matt, who you got?
I've actually got a move that hasn't technically happened yet, but I'm going with Alan Huss leaving High Point and pulling the Huss bus into Omaha to be the coach in waiting at Creighton for a few years. Dude knows record. Dude knows recruiting. He's actually the guy I wanted Indiana to take more interest in, because I think he's that good at what he does recruiting. Omaha, you're in the Big East. You're going to figure out that culture while you're sitting under learning under Greg McDermott. And then in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to be your thing, and you're going to be set up. The Huss bus is going to make a station, it's going to make a stop, and it's going to be a long-term stop in Omaha. So I'm going with Alan Huss leaving High Point, taking the coach in waiting position at Creighton for my best move.
The coach I went with is Jay Lucas going to Miami, because I am a firm believer that this is the up and coming young coach in college basketball. He made a name for himself as a recruiter, and then he proved last year that he is also a very good defensive coach, given the job that Duke did on the defensive side of the ball last year. And not to mention, already in the transfer portal, he's landed Trey Donaldson, Ernest Uday, and Malik Renault. And just to shut any speculation down, I know that Jay Lucas has already brought on the Columbus high school coach. That is going to have absolutely zero impact on bringing the Boozer twins. If anything at all, it's going to help him with the pipeline for South Florida recruiting. And if it has any impact on that Columbus team of what players he's going to be able to get from them, it's going to be more towards Caleb Gaskin and or Jackson Richardson than it will be the Boozer twins. The Boozer twins are set at Duke from everything I'm hearing, so I want to go ahead and shut that rumor down. But no, Jay Lucas has been has been the best coaching move so far to me. And now we're going to get into the worst. And I think, who did I start with? Ryan. So I'm going to start with Matt. Who is the worst?
I'm actually going to reverse something that Ryan said. And I'm actually going to go with the worst as being. Actually, no, I had two things down, so I think I'm going to flip back. I'm going to go with, and I don't even know if it's the worst. It's just the most like flummoxing to me, even though he went to school there, which is Fran McCaffery at Penn. I just can't imagine FranCon is going to go over well in the Ivy League. So that move was probably the most surprising, worst move to me. But I also would put the Kevin Willard thing there. Not because I think it's a bad hire for Villanova. Man, that thing just ended with such toxicity
It did.
that even System of a Down would be jealous. I mean, you're leaving your press conference to go play in the Sweet 16, and they're booing you vehemently because of this. And you insult the athletic department. You go and maybe they deserved it, maybe they didn't. But when you're leaving your press conference to go play in the biggest game of your season so far, getting just manhandled by the fans, it's not a good look, even if it is a decent hire. So I've got a tie for my most flummoxing move being Fran McCaffery to Penn. I just can't see FranCon in the Ivy League, and Kevin Willard for the way it ended, more so than any future at Villanova, because that just leaves a bad taste in your
Ryan, what you got?
All right, so this is gonna be controversy, but that's what it can bring sometimes. I am gonna go and let me explain. The worst coaching decision for maybe the school. Darian DeVries going to Indiana. Okay, let me explain. It's not any hit on Darian DeVries. I think he's a very, very good coach. I think he could do good things. I just thought Indiana, which I know they were trying to pick someone quick so they could start the recruiting, which they got the amazing whites right now. I thought that they could do a little bit better than Darian DeVries with the amount of millions of alums and people connected to Indiana University and all of the assistant coaches that are everywhere. I thought that they could really get a home run hire, and I thought they would also go after Chris Beard more. But that's not a hit on Darian DeVries. I think he's a good coach. I just thought Indiana could do better and do the home run hire because they are sick of these of losing and being disappointing and that full circle of emotions. And so, yeah, I thought that Indiana could do better, and that's not a hit on Darian DeVries.
Can I interject here just for a brief moment?
No. Yes, go
No,
ahead.
The only thing about that with what Ryan said is being like the IU fan here is that like I'm at the point now where it's like I really don't care. I don't think I've been more disillusioned with college sports than I am right now, actually, because I've rode the portal train for the past 2 years, where it's like, oh, they got the number one player in the portal. Oh, they got the number one player in the portal, and they still sucked. So it's like, whatever happens, I'm just gonna wait until freaking whatever their first game is, see how
wait
it
till
goes
you
from
see.
that point. I mean, it's not a very exciting hire, but at this point, as long as they get the right guys in the right place and they win, I don't care because
Yeah,
I've been on the money gravy train and it's not been a very fun ride. So that's my 2 cents.
yeah.
Fair enough. For time constraints, I'm going to get into my worst move, and that's going to be Nico Medved going to Minnesota. And Matt, remind me, what is the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result.
Yes, I know you and I have a different opinion on schools hiring alumni coaches, but Minnesota's historically, this has not worked. And yet here they are once again hiring an alum when they have had time and time again. It does not work for them. It just seems like they're just making the same mistake over and over again. They don't learn. And not to mention, apparently they're going to struggle to even get $4 million from,
Yeah.
donations for NIL value. That ain't going to cut it in today's, you know, market. But it may not even be, and honestly, all seriousness, just given the situation, it may not even be anything of Nico Medved's fault. It's just that, Minnesota's setting him up to fail, and yet here they are doing it right again.
And it
But
really sucks because he's such a good coach.
fair enough.
And
Anyways, for time constraints, I am going to go ahead and say, as always, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel to get the latest updates of new content we have coming out. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Be sure to follow the side quest on TikTok. That's at BeansDad018. And we got a minute left. What are we going to get cut off by the timer, boy? Or for boys?
I was just gonna say that no recruit wants to go to Minnesota right now, which sucks.
It's cold up there.
Yeah, it's very cold,
It's very cold in Minnesota.
and your chances of falling off the court and getting injured are pretty high.
They
I also
closed the
want to
barn,
add
man.
that one of the players that I was thinking about picking for the best portal pickup so far was going to be Jalil Bethea, but that was only because I hadn't heard yet that Nate Oates might be considering the Denver Nuggets job. Because I think Jalil Bethea is the slasher that could be used very well in a 3-point heavy offense that Nate Oates runs. It could be like Russell Westbrook with the Rockets, but Nate Oates could be going to the Nuggets,
What
so
about
I might
Will?
Everyone,
not have to coach him.
everyone's going to the Nuggets. Les, Will Wade, Bobby Hurley.
That's surprising. We didn't pick Will Wade today.
I know.
Will Wade, he knows we love him. He's going to send us our bag soon anyway.
I love
But
Amir Khan.
the Nuggets are forever. Aura is forever.
All right,
Hail
Shay.
to the Nuggets.